I checked up, Priya, that graphic card is the problem over there. I checked it for my system, Priya. The graphic card is the error.
Okay, Anamika, everybody else is also in. A lot of people are in now, so we can just keep ourselves mute. Arunji, that was for you, that your graphic card is an issue. That's why the background is not coming.
I think we'll just wait for a few minutes before we start.
Arun, can you call Zexus? He's trying to reach you.
All right, I'll do that.
And he can then do the welcome. As soon as he gets it, we can start.
Priya, I'm unable to operate the slides. Priya?
Zexus, we are ready to go. So maybe you can start with the welcome. Zexus?
Unmute.
Anamika, we can't see your face. It is only AMTOI we can see.
Now? Hi, Sandesh, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Welcome, Sandesh. It's been a long time. I hope everything is well with you, your family, and everything is well.
Yeah.
Good.
After a very long time.
Very long time. So, I mean, are we all on board? Should we start, Arun, with your permission, or you'll have to unmute yourself? Yeah. Hello.
Unmute. Arun, unmute.
Yeah, I think we should start now, and myself, Anamika, and Priya will be switching off our video and audio. So in case
you're doing the same thing. Yeah. Once Sandesh starts, we'll be switching off the video also.
Right.
So that
no, and Zexus, I think we will need to speak about the questions that we need to take on. So we'll have to see that question in the panel.
Yeah, but are we the only ones right now? I mean, how many participants are there?
We already have almost 30 participants.
Okay.
We should get started. It's 3 o'clock.
So we just welcome, and then
yeah, you just welcome.
Yeah, and then
I'm going mute. All of us are going mute except you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you all can hear me. In case there is a problem, please you all have the option of raising your hands or signaling to us. I would like to welcome you all for this webinar, which is where we have our guest speaker today, Mr. Sandesh Mistry, who is well known to most of us, who will be sharing his insights and knowledge on living with COVID for the business industry. Mr. Sandesh Mistry is a very accomplished consultant, has written his own book on family businesses and how succession planning should take place, what are the challenges a family business faces during its transition phase, etc., etc. He has been, he's the right person today to guide us, as most of us present here today run family-owned businesses. And we are possibly facing the biggest challenge of our lifetime for sure. The business is never, life and business is never going to be the same for us or for anyone else for that matter. huge changes will take place in the way we live, the way we transact, the way we socialize, and the way we do business. Gone are the days, I think, for a long time that we took a flight anywhere where we, for the slightest pretext or the slightest excuse to have a meeting. Gone are the days when we just went over to someone's office and had a chat over a cup of coffee with him and sealed the deal or got our point across in the right manner. Also, the way our offices are run will be completely different. There will be probably for a long time staggering staff, retrenchment, the way our business models will be turned upside down. It could be that we will have to digitalize most of our processes, and also take a viewpoint of whether our offices, do we require such big offices now, such big premises, or do we innovate and make our staff work from home to the best extent possible? I know that the IT companies have already taken a call, as you all already know, that most of their staff in certain big software companies are going to work from home for good now. So these are all challenging aspects. Really, no one has ever seen such a time before. So no one has an oracle or a book to predict exactly what's going to happen. But I think Sandesh can guide us on what he thinks the trend will be and what the way forward will be. So welcome, Sandesh, and I give you the floor now. We will be muting ourselves and even switching off the video if necessary for better bandwidth.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I think to add on to what Xerxes has said, airlines have found a new competitor which is out of the blue, that is Zoom, Google Hangout, and all those places. Okay, so let us start with today's subject, life with COVID. I think, as Xerxes mentioned, many things have changed in the past 60 days. And the change is that has accelerated so fast that sometimes we wonder, are we able to adapt to these kind of changes? Surprisingly, most of us are adapting to this changing environment. So the first question is, what has changed? Suddenly, after 23rd of March, all working conditions have changed. You're working with skeleton staff. There are restricted moments, and the social distancing is the new norm. I don't believe anybody heard of a word called social distancing before 20th of March, but suddenly now social distancing is the thing. And we are very, very cautious about it. We are we are following it very rigorously. So something which we never thought has come into a reality. And Priya, this is not getting operated. Hello.
Yeah, Priya, can you hear us? Can you help Sandesh?
I think it's just a bit slow, I guess. So it's not moving, is it?
I don't know. It's
sometimes these things do take time. Also.
Yeah, technology has its own way of dealing. Yes.
So you can just remove the share and share again. I think it's operating. No.
Just let me share.
Yeah.
No, I think there is some setting. It's not going ahead.
There's an arrow button over here in the corner.
Yeah. Okay, chalo. I'll use that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So we have inadequate support staff on the ground. So whatever we are trying to do, all those things are not happening as per our plan and as per our timings and as our turnaround time, because there is inadequate support staff on the ground. Also at the counterpart, at customer side also, and at vendor side also, there are challenges that there are less people. Turnaround time has gone for a toss. Earlier, we used to have our turnaround time of 4 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours, 2 hours. But now altogether, everything has gone for a toss. So actually today, we are happy that things are moving. We are no longer counting our turnaround time. Again, this is a new word, work from home. I think this concept nobody believed in for a long time, except for IT industry, where they were doing work from home. And suddenly from 23rd, we are asked to work from home. And that was a big challenge for most of us, because we are never tuned to this kind of working. And number two is that we are not geared up in our systems and in our processes and in our software to have work from home systems to work. But still, I think most of us are managing now to work from home. We are asked to pay all the expenses at normal rate. Ministry of Home Affairs had also released notification saying that you have to also pay your employees full salary during lockdown. Now that the case is going on and there's a new notification which has come, but still there's a big question mark about the period during which the notification was in force, and there is no clarity. So it has created additional confusion for all of us. And at the end, we are spending more and we are getting less things done. We are spending more because we have to now provide point-to-point vehicles to our people. We are spending more because sometimes we also have to make arrangement for their stay. We are spending more because we have to organize for their food and other allowances. And also there are conditions that in a vehicle only 4 people or 3 people can travel. So all those have increased cost. And at the end of the day, this increased cost is not giving us any reward in terms of productivity. Maybe the work is only 1/3 of what we were doing, but the costs have increased 1/3 by 3 times. So almost that is the gap which I see. And there is a new clause that has dawned on us, and we are under tremendous stress that what if my customer says invokes force majeure clause. This is a fear which most of us have because there are news, and I think social media is one of the biggest challenge that we need to manage, because it gives us good news also, but it spreads a lot of rumors also. And there have been a lot of rumors that major companies have invoked force majeure, and they are not going to pay suppliers, and they are not going to pay the contractors with whom they have contract. But for us, it is better that we understand what is force majeure. Force majeure generally is there in contract for many large companies and MNCs. And this is a silent clause. Nobody bothered to look at this clause. It is a clause for non-performance of contractual obligations. Now, contractual obligations, non-performance is due to what? So it is due to act of God, natural disaster, war or warlike situation, labor unrest, strike, lockout, epidemic, pandemic, government order or action. Now remember one thing, what your force majeure clause says and how it is worded is very important. If you have a contract which has a force majeure clause and it includes everything, but it does not include epidemic or pandemic or government order or action, then that is not applicable to you. But if it includes that, or if it includes a generic representation of extraordinary unforeseeable events beyond reasonable control of the party, if it includes this generic phrase also, then it is applicable to other events also. Otherwise, if this phrase is missing and epidemic and government order is missing, then it cannot be construed as force majeure act for that particular contract. Incidentally, government has acknowledged this current COVID crisis as a force majeure event. Now, force majeure clause has to be there in the contract. It cannot be implied. We cannot say the contract is there and this event has happened and that's why force majeure is applicable. It has to be there in the contract. Otherwise, force majeure you cannot imply it. It is there in the contract. The party invoking the force majeure clause should give notice, clearly indicating if the contract is terminated, if it is put on hold, is there a time limit after which the contract can be terminated by either party? they have to be very, very clear. So if you are under the impression that certain clients have invoked force majeure, but they have not given you notice, then in that case, in your contract, the force majeure is not invoked. Party invoking force majeure should be able to prove existence of force majeure. This is another responsibility of the party which is invoking the force majeure clause, that they have to prove, if the case goes to court, then they have to prove that the existence of force majeure was there, the circumstances were beyond their capacity to handle, and that is why they had to invoke it. Small commercial transaction cannot come if there is a rate increase in, because of COVID, if there's a contract and suddenly the transport cost has gone up from 1 lakh to 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs, then the party cannot invoke force majeure. That cannot be the reason for invoking force majeure clause. So we have to understand that it has to be something which will create inability for the party to perform their duty and contractual obligations. So that is where force majeure can be invoked. And party also need to prove that they have taken endeavors to avoid or mitigate this event and its effect. So that is something, another thing which is very, very important. In case if we go to court and challenge the force majeure invocation and the clause, then they have to prove this. In absence of force majeure, there is a doctrine of frustration in the Contract Act. Now, the doctrine of frustration also says that the party needs to be in a position to prove that they were unable to perform the contract. Now, can the customer invoke and deny payments for services performed under contract before invoking force majeure? Now, this is what all of us are concerned of. If I've given services to my customer and those services were given prior to March 20, and the event has happened after 23rd, lockdown event has happened after 23rd, can he invoke force majeure and say, I will not give the previous money? That is not the case. That should not happen, and that should not be a valid reason for non-payment of the earlier bills. So a party or a customer cannot say that I am invoking force majeure and I will not pay your earlier dues. That is not possible, because for that, whatever the party says that force majeure event has happened, after that event, the force majeure clause gets activated, not before it. In the event of force majeure invoked, I would really suggest that you take a legal opinion and study your contract clauses, study the conditions, study the notice under which they have given you an invocation, and study your position. Because many times right now, this is a renegotiation tactics, which is right now going on by invoking force majeure. Even people are saying that for the landlord, they are invoking force majeure and asking for deferment of payment or reduction of rent. That is not possible by invoking force majeure. For force majeure to get activated in terms of real estate cases, is that the property should be unoccupiable or it should be damaged. Then only force majeure can be applicable. Otherwise, only for reduction of rent, it is difficult to prove that force majeure can be applied. So in all these cases, you have to be very careful and you have to see how that force majeure is applicable. But at the same time, if you get into this kind of notice, then you need to study your contract, you need to understand the situation, and need to understand the provisions which are available to you. So you better take a legal opinion and study these clauses and then reply to this. Are there any questions on force majeure? Because I think this was one of the very, very stressful clause for most of us. And there were many news that Hero Motors have invoked force majeure, Eicher Motors have invoked force majeure, and they are not going to pay any of their vendors. Are there any questions on this?
Sandesh, if I can just interrupt, I would like Arun to pitch in here that would he like us to stop midway and do the questions or wait till the end of the session?
No, we can have it right
No,
now.
I'll just let Arun and Priya take a call on that, please.
I think Mr. Sandesh wanted to take questions in section wise. so that
Okay,
it is
great.
easier.
Whatever he's more comfortable with.
So
Yeah,
if,
sure.
if anybody has
Sure.
a question, please post it in the Q&A and we'll take it up.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
are there any questions on force majeure? Which there needs to be any clarity on this?
Yeah, there's one.
Yeah. What is it?
The question reads, if force majeure in situation of pandemic is equally applicable for each party,
Yes.
which side's decision would apply?
Meaning both the parties have the right to invoke force majeure. So as a supplier, as a vendor also, if you are unable to perform your contractual obligation, you also can invoke force majeure.
Invocation is one thing. Which side would be more beneficiary financially if payment is required to be, say, for example, given by the customer, and
It depends, because if it is
then
going to be a contract where contractor has an obligation to perform certain duty in certain time period, and if there is a penalty if that is not completed within that time period, then the contractor also can invoke a force majeure and get benefit out of it, because he can say the circumstances were beyond my control. On the other way, it is the customer also. I mean, if you have provided freight forwarding services and the customer has invoked force majeure, then the customer can say that he is unable to fulfill the obligations of the contract. So both ways it is possible. It depends on the situation.
There's
Can we
one
go
more
ahead?
question. There's
Yeah.
one more question which I can see. That is it true that the Chinese companies can declare force majeure irrespective of it not being in contract?
No, if it is not in contract, that cannot be exercised. Force majeure has to be one of the clauses in contract. And the wording of force majeure clause is very important. It should cover pandemic, epidemic, government lockdown, or the generic term, any other event beyond the control of the party. So it has to be there in the contract. It cannot be assumed that force majeure is there. And in specific cases, I think it is better to take a legal opinion. Okay. I'll move ahead. Okay. Now the new working norms. I think all of us are now aware that there are new working norms for working. There is a temperature screening, which we never thought would be required in Indian context. Social distancing, especially places like Delhi, Mumbai, where space is premium, social distancing is something which we need to deal with. Manage workload with less people. I think 33% or 50% of the people need to be there, and not more than that, depending on the zones. And also rest of them can work from home. So this is another challenge, because not many have activities which can be performed from work from home activities. So we really need to think on this, how we are going to manage it. Rules for personal hygiene and housekeeping, disinfection, sanitization, all are new things, and which are very, very common nowadays, and which we need to do it, and which we need to do it after regular intervals, daily basis. So I think that is something which is going to cost us also, but at the same time, this is a new norm which we need to follow. Work from home for employees of 65 plus or employees with children below 5 years. Again, we'll have to think about activities which can be really done work from home, because you can do from home your data entry activities, your online activities which are there, but not necessarily all activities can be done from home. So again, this is a big challenge to manage. Then I think health insurance cover for employees is not there in the latest circular. So I think we are saved, but in between, whoever has taken medical insurance, they have to continue with it. In the latest circular order of MHA, medical insurance is not covered. So there is no compulsion of medical insurance now. Transport facility with 40% occupancy, I think this is something which we need to again understand, because now you were transporting your people in a bus. Earlier, you were using one bus or two bus. Now you will have to multiply those buses for transporting same amount of people because the occupancy capacity they have reduced. And no large meeting and non-essential visitors. So this is another thing. And nowadays, if you see, going for a meeting and traveling time has gone down drastically, and there is a sudden acceptance of video conferencing, and people have realized that they can do many things on video conferencing and save a lot of time. So that is a plus point also, but at the same time, face-to-face interaction, having a cup of tea and discussing certain matters is not going to be there. What does the expert say? One is on the recovery. Experts say there can be recovery of various types. So there can be V-shaped recovery, which is that as things goes down, it will come up again. There is U-shaped recovery. So in the U, the recovery is slow, but not that slow. There is L-shaped recovery, which says that for a long time it will go down and slowly it will pick up. There's a new pattern which they say is W-shaped recovery, which is again multiplication of V's. So it will go down, go up, go down, go up. And now they are saying it can be multiple W's also, because there can be situation where there will be lockdown, things will open up to a certain extent. Again, there will be lockdown, things will open up. So again, this is going to be a routine pattern for all of us to understand. No doubt the economy will be badly hit, and India's GDP projection has come down to less than 2%, and now they are saying it may go to negative also, and that is what we need to see. But economy will be badly hit because there will be demand side challenges, especially capital goods, especially discretionary spends. All those spends will go down. They are expecting that it will go down, and there won't be demand for these things. So now we will be stuck with a situation that customers are deferring their requirements, suppliers are having excess capacity to manufacture. What do we do? There can be supply side challenges also, because suppliers of certain items, they will have limited capacity and the demand would be higher. One of the examples which you can see right now is your face mask, your sanitizer. Every third company wants to manufacture this, and they are flooding the market right now with all kind of face masks, all kind of sanitizers. But actually, in case of sanitizer, if you see, the demand for sanitizer has gone up by 1200 times because of COVID. So this is something extraordinary which has happened. So there can be supply side demand. Because of the demand, the raw material for these items, their prices have gone up and their supplies are limited. So there is a supply side challenges for these products. Then there will be disturbed supply chain and logistics. Because COVID and because migrant workers, there can be disturbance in the supply chain and logistics, because most of the drivers, cleaners, people on floor, people on the front, they have gone back, and there is going to be a shortage of people. And this is something which we are going to experience now, because now many migrant workers are going back, and we don't expect them to come back after 1 month or 2 months. They will take their own sweet time to come back, and there is going to be an acute shortage of people to manage your activities. So that is going to be a real big challenge industry will have to see. Maybe one thing it will happen is that the cost of labor will go up. Phenomenally, it might double also, but then that is going to add up to your cost also. So both sides will have to see. Employee side challenges, that is what I said, because there will be shortage of labor. Higher overhead cost and lower productivity, because frequent lockdowns, containment zones, red zones can be declared overnight with people with positive cases. So it is going to be a high overhead cost for all of us. Limitations of movement, limited social distancing, all these kind of things are increase our overheads. We are going to experience stretch cash flow. Cash is going to be king. Everybody is saying cash is going to be king, and there will be stretch cash flows. We might have to forget profit. I was studying something, so they say that out of 1,000 companies, it is meagerly 10% companies who will have profitability. Rest 90% will have to survive and sustain with a very wafer thin margin or no margin at all. So it is going to be a very, very difficult situation. So which are the industries that are going to get badly hit? So this is just the indicative list. These are the industries which will do well and they will come back bounce back within 6 months, which is FMCG, e-commerce, agribusiness, education. These are all industries where they will see that their recovery will be faster which is within 6 months. These are the industries which will have medium impact: apparels, construction, building construction, business services, chemicals, gems and jewelry. They will take at least 9 months to recover. And these are the industries which will be worst hit. So if you see auto components, aviation, capital goods, consumer durables, real estate, metals, mining. Now we have to understand that in what category of industries that we have client and what would be our impact on us because of these industries. Because naturally, if you are having more clients from auto engineering or auto components, and if their business is going to go down, it is naturally going to hurt you. But at the same time, if you have pharmaceutical clients, then maybe you are saved and you will have a better recovery. So that is what we need to understand: what kind of industries that we are working with, what kind of customers base that we have, and how it is going to impact us financially. So what can we do? Now, at the end of the day, what we need to do is up to us, and how we can adapt faster is up to us. So these are some of the solutions and some of the things that we need to understand. One is assess your cash position. This is the first thing I would advise any one of you to do it, is that what is the cash position that you have and where is this cash locked in? This cash is locked in, you have to count it in your bank balance, in your bank credit line, because you have certain credit lines, you can have that. Then you can take COVID credit lines now that the government has announced that there are certain facilities that they can give without collateral at a certain rate of interest. So I think you need to understand if you are eligible for that, and if you are eligible, can you take benefit of that? Then COVID EPF packages. In some of the cases, government has said that for companies having less than 100 people and 90% of those people are drawing salary of 15,000 or less, government will pay the PF for those, both the contribution of employer and employee. Government will pay. So if you are eligible for that, you will have to seek that eligibility. Again, they have reduced 2% PF for 3 months. There is one more provision which most of us have missed, and that is a provision which government has said that in case the employee wants one-time withdrawal of their PF from their PF, it is possible. They can withdraw 3 months basic or DA, or 75% of the PF, whichever is less. I think we should encourage our people, in case they are facing cash problem, they should avail of this facility. Then outstanding receivable, one of my favorite subject, is that we have to make efforts to receive our money faster and in time. And for that, we may have to communicate to the customer on regular basis. We have to send our latest statement to them with adjustment and show them that this is an outstanding for what period that they are holding. We may have to cry to get the money, because at the end of the day, it is the crying baby that gets the milk, and that fits in everywhere in terms of receivables, that unless you don't follow up, and if you don't follow up rigorously, you will not get your money in time, especially in these times. We may have to cajole and blackmail also sometimes to get our money in time. At the end of the day, you have to understand that most of the time when we give credit, there is certain cost of credit that we have taken in our costing. Most of the time we also don't take that cost of credit in our costing, but that money is going to cost us. And especially if you have bank facility and the interest is running on it, then you end up reducing that much of profit for the period that your money is delayed. So this is something which is very, very important that you need to understand. In some cases, if a client has an outstanding of 50 lakhs and his term is 30 days, You have to understand that if you don't receive your money in 30 days, for every month's delay, you will be losing minimum 50,000 rupees from your profit. And God forbid, if your profit is 10% or 5%, that is a heavy cost that you will be paying. Then supplier payable, can you stretch and pay late to your supplier? I am not advocating this. I am saying that this is one of the possibility. As far as possible, if you pay your supplier in time and if your employees in time, that is going to benefit you a lot in these trying times because you will get preference from them. So this is one of the way, but it is better that you don't utilize it. And the ability to infuse your own funds. Do you have that position that you can infuse funds in your company if need be? Invest in customer collection efforts. I think this is something which you need to do. And most of you will find that at least 80% of business is coming from 24% of your customer. And at least for those 20%, I would advise that you get their financials. You get their financials for doing what? By the way, if your customer is a private limited company, or an LLP, these financials are available on ROC site with a mere payment of 100 rupees. You are giving your customer out your credit for lakhs of rupees. It is a good investment of 100 rupees, and you will get to know what is the financial health of your customer. This is to know what? This is to know what is the customer's average payment cycle. Now, how do you calculate average payment cycle? You divide customers' total purchases which are there in P&L by 365 and you will get their daily purchase. And after that, customer payment days is sundry creditors divided by daily purchase. So you go to the balance sheet and find out what is the creditors amount that is getting reflected in the balance sheet, and divided by this number of daily purchase, you will get to know in how many days the customer is paying average to their customers. This is one thing that you need to know. The second thing that you need to know is that when the customer is realizing his money. So again, this can be done by dividing the sales amount by 365. So whatever sales that is there in customer's P&L divided by 365, and whatever is the sundry debtors in customer's balance sheet divided by daily sales, you will get to know how much days the customer is getting his money from. So you will come to certain number of days. You will, in customer realizes his payment in 90 days, then the payment cycle will be somewhere around 120 days. But if the customer is getting money in 15 days, you will find that he will be a fast payer, a customer. You will know what kind of efforts you need to put in for every customer. This is very, very important. How rigorously you need to follow up with your customer, you will know. And at least for your top customers who are giving you large amount of business, I think this is very, very important for you to understand. Are there any questions here? Because this is something which I want you to understand. If there are no questions, then we can go ahead.
I think there's no questions there, so you can please proceed.
Okay, no problem. So this is a sample which I am trying to show you, that whenever you want to collect, then there is a aging statement that you draw. So this is for the customer A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is the percentage of total outstanding. So what is the percentage of outstanding that customer has? So if in this case the total is 422, this is the percentage of outstanding that each customer has. And this is how, what is the spread in number of days. So this is in between 30 days, 30 to 60 days, 60 to 120 days, and all those things. This is the daily average sale. Now, whatever sale that you have done to customer A divided by the number of days sale, you will get a daily average sale. Generally, you can do it for month, you can do it for quarter, or you can also do it for annual. It depends on your sales pattern and trend with the customer. And then you will get to know the daily sales outstanding. In this case, it is 91. So how you read this statement is that customer A has a 5% outstanding from my total outstanding. Out of 20 lakhs outstanding, this is something worrying. 18 lakhs is 61 to 120 days, and if his term of credit is 30 days, then he is going to give you money always delayed. and his daily sales outstanding is 91 days. So his on and average payment cycle to you is 91. And if the payment term is 30, you need to rigorously follow this customer. But at the same time, if customer E has 1.27 crore outstanding, but if you see his daily sales outstanding is 30 days, and if its term of credit is 30 days, then we need not follow up so rigorously with him. Or maybe with customer G, we may not follow it so rigorously. But customer F, we need to follow rigorously because our money is stuck. This is something that you need to understand. This is not rocket science. It is very easy. But you need to monitor. The real key is in reviewing it. The real key is in monitoring these things on day-to-day basis. So put a credit limit to monitor and control outstanding. That is very, very important. If you can put a credit limit and monitor this outstanding, once the credit limit is reached, then you can tell the customer that further processing would require a payment. Also, before reaching the credit limit, you can have a alert saying that 80% credit limit is reached, so we better have a payment. So these are the activities which will help you collect faster. Second is no job is processed once credit limit is crossed. Maybe you will have to take this stance in such tough time because it is very, very important in these circumstances. So conserve cash. We will have to conserve cash. So you will have to communicate. You will have to communicate with the customer that you will need money on time. You will have to communicate with suppliers that if they can extend some additional credit, or if you have to pay them on time, what kind of requirement that you have, what kind of document that you need. You need to communicate with your employees that cash is very scarce. So we need to make all out effort and save money wherever we can. Whichever possibility exists, please try to save money. And for that, you need to continuously communicate with all. That is something which you will have to do day in, day out. Work out the current work volume, because now the work volume will also go down and your overheads are more for these kind of work volume. So you need to understand that based on the work volume that you have, what kind of overheads that you can really manage and what are the excess overhead that you need to really look at. So no incremental budget, draw a zero-based budget. For a zero-based budget, you will also need a work volume. What a zero-based budget means is that you need to understand and say that I have started this business today. If I have started this business today, what kind of cost I would require for the volume that I'm expecting. While in incremental budget, what happens is that last year you have done certain things and certain expenses, you just add on 10%, 5%, 20% on that amount and you build a budget. But in the current scenario, building an incremental budget will not be useful. You need to build a zero-based budget, and that is very, very important. Relook at all your processes. Relook at all the practices and processes that your organization is following, what kind of processes that you are processing, and find out and decide on what you need to stop doing. There are certain activities which goes on in an organization and nobody looks at it and they are not really required, but nobody takes a call on it for stopping it. You need to decide that which activities are not adding value and it is not required from compliance point of view also. Can we stop doing it? Then second, decide what needs to be kept doing. So what you need to keep doing, because keep doing is something which is necessary, which is important, and which is from a compliance point is requirement that you will have to keep doing. And once you decide on what to stop and what to keep, then only introduce what you need to start doing. If you don't introduce, start doing, that is fine. But first thing you will have to do, stop and keep doing. And if you want to introduce any additional thing, then you can start doing something in the processes that you need to learn. Reduce duplication and wastages. There are many things which we keep manually, many things which we already also record on our software, many things that we file it 3 or 4 times just in case that we require. So all those are duplications and wastages. So can we do away with that? And if we do away with that, what will be the repercussions? So understand that and try to reduce that. Get a line of credit sanction from the bank. If you are already taken a loan, a COVID limit is available. Even if you don't require, just in case if you require, keep that money as a backup. because that is something which is going to be very, very important in case of any emergency, because you don't know what will come up tomorrow. Avail moratorium for your term loan, for your working capital loan, for your car loan, for your unsecured loan. It is available all across to all loans. Don't think that my car loan is there and I cannot avail moratorium. You can very well avail moratorium on your car loan also. Monitor weekly cash budget and variance. This is something which you need to do, is to have a cash budget, understanding what money weekly that you are expecting and what money weekly that you need to pay, and monitor it weekly and start checking the variance. Variance will be there, that if you are expecting X amount of money and that X is X minus, where the money is not come, why it has not come, start questioning. Because once you start questioning, your people will get alert and they will know that this is getting monitored on regular basis. I need to show performance in this. This is something very, very important, at least in today's time. Again, work from home, evaluate possibilities and estimate volume, what you can do and what you cannot do. What you can do, what could be the volume, because if you have to work from home, you will also have to decide what are the processes and what is the coordination mechanism that you need to do. Because if you don't set processes and if there is no coordination, work from home is not going to work, and it will create a lot of confusion amongst your own people. Clarify the reporting patterns and evaluation. How will you have reporting pattern on daily basis, on weekly basis? Will there be a reporting on WhatsApp? Will it be in a structured format and updated on a Google Sheet? It will be in the Google Drive. Decide how it will happen and how you will evaluate the performance of the person and the work that he or she has done. So this is something which you need to think of and implement in your organization if you want to work from home. If only in dire circumstances, if you feel that it is important to renegotiate your employment and compensation terms with your employees, you can do that with consent. So if you want to downward revision salary, one of the things is that from work from home, if people don't have to travel and if they are going to save money, and if you wish to have that revision, you can renegotiate that, but provided it is going to impact your costing and it is going to impact your business plan, then only do it. If the impact is not major, then you can do away with that. So think what is going to be important and how you need to look at it. Freeze new recruitments, because that is something, unless it is very important and it is a very critical position that you are looking at. Otherwise, for all the other recruitments, you need to freeze it, and you will have to say that no new people. Even if people leave and new people are not required, then try to adjust and distribute that workload in existing staff. Take employee consent for stopping ex gratia incentive plan. Generally, if you have an incentive plan, you can also freeze the incentive plan or defer it or suspend it for some time so that you can save cash. Defer capex unless and until you are already committed 80% plus. Otherwise, if it is possible, defer your capital expenses. Don't go in for any capital expenses at this point of time. If need be, right size, because organization survival is priority, because this is something very tough, but if need be, and if the survival of the organization is not going to be there, then nobody is going to be there in that organization. So for organization survival, if need be, you need to think of right sizing, and that is a priority. Monitor daily profit. Now, if you want to monitor, I am strongly recommending that you should monitor your daily profit. And how do you arrive at your daily profit? So you have fixed expenses, and what are those fixed expenses? This is the list of all your fixed expenses. Interest on loan, depreciation. Depreciation we never take as an expense. We treat it as an accounting entry. But I would request you to take depreciation as an expense, because you need to replenish your asset over a period of time, and at that point of time you need to have a reserve. So you take depreciation as your expense, your salaries and wages including owners withdrawals, utilities, repairs and maintenance, rent, property taxes, insurance of assets and key personnel, marketing expenses, communication expenses, administration expenses, professional fees, CSR expenses, all these expenses, this is your fixed cost. Divided it by number of working days. Remember, it is number of working days and not 365 days, because your fixed costs are spread on number of working days. You will arrive at your figure of daily fixed cost. Once you get a daily fixed cost, you need to do something like this. You can say that these are my services, this is my selling price, this is my variable expenses, and this is what is available to me. This is my money. And these are the number of transactions I have done. So my daily income is this, less my daily fixed cost is this, and this is my plus or minus profit and loss. You can do it for your services as per your service. You can also do it as per your invoice. But you need to do it, and if you need to hire a person to do this kind of working on day-to-day basis, I would say it would be worth an investment. Are there any questions in this?
No, sir, I don't see any question.
Okay.
I have one, Arun, if I can.
Yeah,
Yeah, please. So just you were mentioning, Sandesh, about moratorium on loans and to take advantage of it. But that comes with a big caveat of interest payment also, your cost also increasing at the end of the day.
Yes.
Maybe your cash flow would improve temporarily.
Yeah.
But you will end up paying a lot more.
Yeah, but in the current situation, if you see, cash is going to be of prime importance. And if it comes at a little higher cost also, to survive and sustain, you will need cash. So if you don't have cash flow available, then you will not survive also. So that is going to be a problem. In any turbulent situation, in any time, cash flow is always important than your profit. So you can sacrifice profit, don't sacrifice contribution. This you cannot sacrifice, because if you start sacrificing this contribution margin, then you will go in loss. But if you are earning 10% profit, you can compensate on 6% profits, provided the cash is available in the system. So this is especially true in all trouble times. So even if the money comes with an interest, it is better to have that kind of money rather than not having money, because that will be suicidal.
Understood. And one more question, you mentioned work from home. Now we are all doing it for some time, but I think all of us are of the opinion it's only a stopgap measure at best, because operational efficiency is hugely compromised. There are a lot of things which are getting missed.
Yeah.
Rather than having everyone in your office at one time and then just calling them in. So this, okay, just now the whole world is like this. In the flux situation, it is okay. But in the long run, you think that is sustainable?
You will have to plan for it. See, if you have to work from, I have a slide for work from home. I will come to it and I'll explain it to you, because this needs to be planned. Otherwise, it is going to be a big confusion and chaos.
Okay, that's fine from my side.
There's one small question from my side as well. Where we are maintaining the daily expenses and the daily income, and how we going to, if the returns are subject to over a period of time, how to factor that part also?
Returns in the sense?
So if it is something like project based,
okay,
so it would require
that if you are funding that money, that has to come into your fixed cost. If your money is stuck for 4 months or 5 months in a project based assignment, then you will have to factor that cost in your financing cost itself, and that will come into your daily fixed cost.
Okay.
So there you will have to factor that. Most of the time we feel credit is free. That is the biggest problem. When we extend credit to our customer, we feel that it is always free. It is not free, because your bank, if you are taking a loan, a bank is charging you anywhere between 9% to 12%. For simple reason, I am taking 12%. So every month for whatever money that you are drawing from the bank in terms of loan, you are getting charged 1%. So if 1 lakh rupees is outstanding and if your credit term is 30 days, provided you have calculated that 30 days is the cost of 30 days in your costing, every month that it goes beyond 30 days, on that 1 lakh rupees, you are paying cost of 1% per month. That nobody calculates. And that is where we'll start losing money. And that is where our profit goes down. This is something which is very important for us to understand.
It's probably the mindset that, okay, fine, this much is not to be factored because this is only is considered as a part of it, but
Absolutely.
good to factor it. Yeah, it's a
We
mindset
have
that
to
is
factor it. We have to factor it. It's our own money.
correct.
And that is where the mindset change is required. People don't, I mean, generally I feel that sales guys feel कि 30 का 60 दिन में हो गया तो क्या होता है? But now if you see that if the amount is 1 crore rupees, now what is the amount that you're losing? And if your profitability is not that high, then whatever you are earning is going to go down in drain. And it is the third person who is earning, not you or the customer. The benefit is taken by bank, who has nothing to do with your business. So that's the problem. Okay, we'll go ahead. Yeah, this is the work from home side. Work from home, is it a boon or a bane? And this is very important to understand. If you want to work from home, and no doubt, video conferencing is time saving. Now there is an openness for video conferencing and conference calls, but only some jobs can be done as work from home. These are data entry jobs, these are updation jobs, purchase booking jobs, where your documentation is already available in digital format. Otherwise, moving the document is going to be very, very troublesome and tiresome activity. Another thing, if you are having updates online and on time, and it is getting updated in your software, so you need to have a support of a software which will capture all the data, and you also need to have trained people who can do the data entry on time. Then only work from home is possible to some extent, and not always it is possible, especially in your kind of field. It needs a software with a cloud-based data storage. If you are planning to do work from home, you need to have your data storage on a cloud base, otherwise it is not possible. You need to set up processes and systems on how work will happen, how it will be reported, how it will be monitored. Work from home does not mean that the person does not come to office. Maybe today he is coming to office for 6 days. With work from home, he can work from home for 4 days and come to office for 2 days, but and do his reporting and all kind of activities during those 2 days. Because now even with social distancing and with less manpower that we are supposed to work with, it is not possible to engage all our 100%, all our 100% staff to come and join office. So this is going to be a challenge. So that is why we need to set process. We need to have systems in place on how to this work will happen, and reporting and monitoring to be done. Even there can be conference call, video con, which are fixed time where you can take update for work from home. There has to be change in point of data entry. Many times I see offices where work is done by somebody and data entry is done by somebody. Now this takes time because the person who is doing work, he does not have time, or he does not have the skill to do the data entry. So if we have to work from home, I think this is some point which needs to change, and the data entry has to happen at the point of doing the work. Then only work from home will have meaning. This happens in IT industry, and that is why they find it easy. To some extent, it is possible in your industry also. If you look at all the new startups which are coming in your industry, unfortunately, what I see is that, and which I don't know if people in the industry have realized it, but all your new players are not conventional owners of, they don't have a conventional owner mindset who have come from a traditional way of doing things. They are all highly educated and they are all technology savvy. So they have created platforms where many of the things are automated and data can be captured from many places and can be stored and retrieved from different places. So our competition is changing, and if we have to face this competition, then we have to look at this as an activity, and we have to start doing this data entry from the point of activity. This is going to be very, very important, and this only will enable work from home to a larger extent. Investment in data security, this is something which you have to do if you have to work from home. Work from home is a threat for micromanagers, and most of us are tuned to call our people, have discussion, have meeting, take their feedback, give them instructions. And if we are doing micromanagement, then work from home is not going to work for us. Look at it as an activity which will save your time. And if you want to save your time, then you want to leave micromanagers. If you want to don't want to be a micromanager, then you have to really think of it. I have a client who is into manufacturing. He has beautifully integrated all Google applications for his regular working, and this is available to most of us. If your hosting is on Google server, you get G Sheet, you get presentation, you get forms, all those kind of things, and he gets auto alerts, he gets auto updates, his data is getting updated, and once in a week he takes review with people based on the data. And this is all happening free of cost for any software that he has to pay. His regular Google subscription is helping him do lot many things. So I think to save our time and get out of this micromanagement, we'll have to think differently. Otherwise, your new age competitors will take you over, and they will not leave any overheads for you to spend on your people. Redefine jobs for managers and owners. If you are a micromanager and if work from home is successful, then the real question is that what will my managers do? Because now people are doing their own work, they are certifying their own work, and they are also saying that the work they have done is right, and it is getting checked through the processes, through audits which I have. Then we need to redefine the role of owners and managers, what exactly they will do. I think this is very important. It sounds very easy, but if it works, it is going to be a very, very important factor for us to understand. And for that to happen, we have to unlearn and learn. Otherwise, we will perish. We will not be there in the business unless we have this ability of unlearn and learn new things. We have to learn the logic and conceptual understanding of how things operate in digital world. We have to understand how software are integrating with each other. If you see, there are a lot of softwares which are available today which can push and pull data at a fixed time or at a fixed or the repeated time also. Everything is possible. So I think all the repeated entries are all going to get switched over to this kind of activity. So this is where unlearning and learning is must, and we need to understand how we can take benefit of these activities, because that is going to be very, very important for us, and it will help you reduce overhead cost to a great extent, and maybe help you also deploy and engage your people better in some productive activity. So that is what we need to understand, and we need to use this as a boon, because the red points are going to be a real challenge, and if we don't accept that as a challenge and understand the difficulties into it and work on it, it is not going to happen. Selling more, I think this is the last few slides which I have come. One thing that I always hear from my customers is that my customer always want the best price, and it is the least price person who gets the job or who gets the work. I would sincerely request all of you to do a 80-20 analysis of your customers. And what do I mean by 80-20 analysis? Your 80% business is coming from your 20% clients. See those clients, those 20% clients, your top 20 or top 20% clients, and understand their kind of requirement, their service requirements, and ask yourself a question that are all these clients buying from me because I am the least priced vendor or a supplier? And you will find your own answer. Many of the time, you will find that majority of the clients, you are not the least price supplier, still they are doing business with you. that needs to trigger the question why they are buying from me, because price is not the advantage that they are getting, then why they are buying from me. So I think this is going to be a very, very important, crucial exercise if you do it seriously, and it will give you a new understanding of why your customers are choosing you. Because if you know this, then you can decide what type of clients that you need to serve. Because you need to understand what kind of clients that value the service offering that you have. It can be because of your time, a timely service, because of your updates, because of quality of your service. It can be anything apart from price. And are we selling those points to our new customers that what we can offer? Most of the time, our sales people are only selling price. अगर सामने वाला 20,000 में देता है तो we will say we will give him 19. If he goes to 19, we are going to go 18. That is a never ending story, and it will only reduce margin for both you and the competitor. So do you want to really get into that business? And decide on what type of client that you will need to serve. Decide the client who will value your services. Decide the services to promote. When you do 80-20 analysis, you will also understand which are the value driven services, which are the services that are giving you more revenue and more profits. So which are the services which you can do. So you will divide the services into different category and start pitching for services which can give you more value, or start pitching for services which are me too, but because of the volume you can earn more money. You will have to decide your own call and your own strategy. Communicate with customer. We have to talk to our customer and understand their priorities, their needs, their requirements. Talk to existing customers for cross sales, because sometimes, many times, or not even sometimes, customer does not know what other offerings that you can give to him and which he can buy from me. They just assume that what you are giving it to them and the service that they are buying, there's nothing else that you do. So we need to cross sell, take references from the existing customer so you can build on those references and get new business. Talk to your lost customers. Find out what they are doing, what is their situation in the lockdown, what they are up to, what is their current requirement, how they are doing. But here, don't sell until they ask. Don't open your mouth for selling and promoting new business until he asks you, आजकल आपका क्या चल रहा है? What is it that you are doing today? Then you can have your own answers, and then you can talk to him about business. If he does not ask this question, please don't sell, because that will go against you. Be clear on the terms of business and do not deviate. This is something which is very, very important, because generally when we are getting business, we are tempted to deviate on certain terms, and one of them is credit terms. So generally, or even cost also for that matter. So we need to understand what we can offer and what we cannot offer, and what we cannot offer. Please do not deviate. Your business will come. Check customers' financial position and payment position, as I have explained earlier. Smartly use the data which is available. Nowadays, lot of data is available from customs, from various sites. So you can go through that data, understand the customers who are doing what kind of business they're shipping to what kind, which countries, what product lines, what sectors. All those data you can use smartly. It needs little understanding of software and Excel knowledge, but you can harmonize that data and it can give you a lot of insights. And with this insight, you can target the right customer. Without this insight, gone are the days where you knock the door and say, I'm so and so, I'm coming from this company and I can offer you this. The customer says, thank you, bye bye, we don't have time and we are very busy, please don't come next time. Offer customers value so that they can save. If you have to target right customer and offer them value, you need to understand what they are doing. For that, you will have to available data, you will have to use very, very smartly, otherwise it is not possible. Otherwise your selling more will become lot of drudgery and you will not gain out of it. That is what will happen. Understand your cash resilience and your profit position. Cash resilience is what is the money that you have, what is the money that you can raise, and what is the resistance that you have to deal with amount of money that you have. And profit, what kind of profit margins that you have. Because if you have cash, resilience and profitability high, then you can go on increasing your market share, because there will be 10% or 15% of you who will have cash reserves, who will have money to spend. But generally there is a negativity in the market, so we don't tend to spend. This is your time to go and make the kill. Increase your market share, get better sales people, go to right customers, sell and increase your market share. Look for buyout opportunities. I believe that there will be good companies who will be available for sale because they won't be in a position to operate. These will be opportunities for those who have high CR and PR, and support your vendors and customers, so they will give you business consistently, and vendors will be in a position to serve you and give you priority in your service. If you are high CR or PR, this is or is important here, then you have to focus on your key customers. Then retain market share with the key customers. Don't lose those customers, and raise capital, because you don't know when money will be required. And if you have low CR and PR, review your customer mix, because you are operating in the wrong customer mix. That is why you are getting low CR and PR. Try to raise capital and explore partnership opportunities. If you are doing something good, and if you are good at something, can that service you can offer to somebody else, or somebody can outsource it to you? Explore those partnerships. Or somebody else has a better opportunity and better strength in some other area. Can you partner with them? Because this is something where you can share your expenses and you can grow. So let the new chapter begin. It's not just in time, but also think of just in case. Today is a time, apart from just in time, we will also need to think just in case. What if tomorrow my office building is declared at containment zone? What if my customer does not pay me in time? What if the customer shipment is delayed? What if my supplier don't serve me in time? What if my drivers don't turn up in time? Everything can happen today, and everything can happen without us forecasting it. Otherwise, earlier we used to take things for granted, but today we just can't do this. So apart from just in time, look for just in case. Know your roti. Your time is going to be very, very precious. So return on time invested for you and your employees are going to be very important, because otherwise you will not get the kind of productivity that you're expecting. Outside the world, there won't be any support which will be available to you freely. So in that case, wherever you can save your time, save it, use it productively. Don't waste your time. In that case, you want conference call, video calling, work from home, having shorter meetings, doing meetings with data, everything you will have to follow. And know your return on investment. Whatever money that you have invested in your business, what is the return that you are getting? If your investment is 10 crores, what is the return that you are getting in terms of profit, and what is that percentage of return on that investment? This is something you need to learn, but I think it will be worth the understanding. Then only you will know what is happening in your business. I think this is the end of my presentation. Thank you. Now we can take questions if you have. Yeah.
I think George, you can take a question. Q&A. I see some 2-3 questions there.
Yeah. There is one FM question, I think.
Yeah, the first question.
Yeah.
Yes.
The first question is, Ministry has issued clarification on COVID-19 as a natural calamity. In this situation, should Finance Ministry specifically carry pandemic as a clause? So force measure should carry pandemic as a clause. It should. Otherwise, it should have a wording that any other event beyond the control of the party. Then only if a force measure is applicable in that case. It should have.
That was a question by Raghu Shankar.
Raghu Shankar, yeah.
Okay. The next question is from Bhavik Banushali.
Yeah.
WFM is the only current option that I think is WFH,
Work from home.
work from home
Work
is
from
the only
home,
current option available during such lockdown situation in metro cities. And down the line, staff tries best to offer results, and heard that good staff goes beyond their working hours during work from home. Then how can they go, how can a company go and start deduction?
No.
I mean, very happy to hear that, you know, you have employers who care so much for the employees. It's a very good approach. Yeah, Sandesh, you want to go ahead and
No, that is what I said, that only in dire circumstances you need to take this step. It depends on your business plan. See, if your cash flow can support, then there is no problem at all. I think you can go ahead, and that is the last thing you should consider. In some of the cases, some of the clients where I'm working with, the business itself has gone down by 50%, and the projection what we were having have gone down by 50%. So covering cost is going to be a real challenge for them to survive. In those cases, we had to be proactive enough to understand what kind of cost saving, because only doing other cost saving is not going to help. And this is something which we need to think of only in circumstances which are beyond our control and it is not manageable. Otherwise, I think if you can do it, nothing like it. I mean, this will be helpful for you in the long term.
actually, just to add on to what Sandesh said, I think it is in times like this and in crisis like this, we actually tend to get a better glimpse of the of our people. You know, sometimes you take our people for granted. We don't really look at what their contribution is. And today, in a situation like this, you find that, you know, they are the ones who have actually come out and done so much for you to be doing whatever little you can do today.
Absolutely.
That is a big takeaway actually from this kind of an experience.
And you will see new qualities in your people and new leadership qualities that they will display in such time of adversity.
Okay, thank you, Sandesh, and we go on to the next question. Arnava Chakravarti says, we have a software system and necessary process set up since last 2 years, which made this transition easier. We save and retrieve data from multiple places. Process realignment is the need of the hour, and I'm not sure how long this will sustain, as mindset is difficult to change. Sandesh, over to you.
There is no other alternative but to go in for a process change, and we need to adapt to this, because just as I said, most of your competitors are highly educated, they are technically very savvy, and one thing which I have learned, I mean, I was talking to somebody and he is successfully running a transport company, and he gives all kind of alerts to his customers, and customers are very happy with him. I said, how do you do this? He says, I don't have any field which is optional. There are only mandatory fields. So if a person does not fill in that field, there is no next process that happens. So I think we'll have to take this kind of stance if we have to remain in the business and we have to remain in the game. Otherwise, if you see, most of the time, the productive time of your employee is wasted almost, I think, 40 to 50% only on telephone or follow up from the client, giving him details: where is the vehicle, what is the vehicle number, what is the driver number, where is he, has he reached, he has not reached. And this is a wastage, criminal wastage of time. If you want to reduce this, or maybe where is my document, has it come, all these kind of questions only if you see. So if that can be automated, you can do lot many things with a smaller team. And the person which I was talking to, he is managing his entire show with 10 people. And a similar kind of activity, one of my other client is managing with is unable to manage even with a team of 40 people. So that's the difference.
That is a brilliant insight, Sandesh. And as you rightly said, the only way to bring efficiency in is probably to avoid duplication. So a very wonderful suggestion that you gave is, when preparing your system, the most critical aspect is knowing what exactly are the fields that are required and ensuring that those fields are made mandatory.
Mandatory. There is no optional fields.
And the other thing about mindset, which was mentioned, I think a normal human tendency is always to resist change. And whether it is at the top or at the bottom, there is always a resistance for change. And here I very strongly believe that at the top, if there is a will to try and look at a change, then it is very easy to filter it down. But if the
Absolutely.
top is weak, then nothing happens.
Absolutely.
So my thoughts on this is that, if you stay strong and ensure that you want to have the change done, you will be a success. And today, the only way to success is change. And we've all seen that in 10 days, we have all been able to change to a different style of working from the 23rd.
Yeah. Absolutely, I agree with you, and I have examples to prove where I have seen where the top person conceptually knows how a software can work and how it can benefit me, and he started working on it. People down the line will have no option but to adopt to this new style. So, as a top person, if we understand how it works and how we can benefit from it and what needs to be done, I think most of the time your mindset problems will get over.
I think the last question that we have is from Raghav. Uh, this is regarding force majeure issue. So he says, though we have signed contract between both parties, what happens if your customer goes belly up and files for bankruptcy, who owes you a lot of money?
If he files for bankruptcy, I think the court will take over. And right now, bankruptcy, I think they have raised the limit to 1 crore. But even if he files for bankruptcy, then your money is lost.
Yeah.
But I think, sorry to interrupt you, Sandesh, there is a caveat now, I think, in the latest finance minister's package, that you cannot sue anyone for
1 year,
for recovery dues. I think it was there. Yes.
Yeah, but whatever are the earlier cases, they still stand. This is for all the new cases.
Correct. That's what we have to be careful about now.
Yeah. So NCLT was one of the most favored recovery mechanism that people were using because the limit was 1 lakh, and as an operational creditor, you could sue the party and take him to NCLT, and the settlement was faster. Because if you send a notice, then generally you used to get money, but now that is closed for some time. So that is for a disadvantage if you are a supplier.
I think we have 5 more minutes. We can take a live question. If somebody wants to ask a question, can raise your hand. I'll put them on audio.
Yeah. I think there are no questions in chat also. If there are no questions, I think.
There is one thing, Mr. Arunava has written that the bankruptcy is postponed for 1 year. The limit of 1 CR is only for the MSME. Is it, or is it for all?
I'm not sure. I think it is for all. Earlier, the limit was 1 lakh.
The limit, even as far as I am aware, it is only for MSME, the limit is 1 year.
I am not sure about it. I have not checked it currently. I have not gone through the details because in the current package, whatever that 5 days package which has come, there are no details which are available. So right now, unless there is a notification and details which are available, we cannot comment on it. It is all what the finance minister has said and we have heard. It is all based on that. And it is all based on the presentations that were made available. There are no notifications which have come, unfortunately.
Okay.
So final print, we don't know right now. What would be in the fine print?
I think there is one hand raised. I'm just allowing the mic to be on. Yeah, Bhavik, please continue.
Hello, panel. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good
Can you hear
afternoon.
me clearly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. The discussion went very well, and really happy to have such a good panel to advise us on the future norms on working and the other logistics pattern. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Sir, one main thing, after MHA, DG shipping and everyone have clearly mentioned on the waiver of the additional charges due to COVID-19. Everyone are making money. I don't think want to go with the making money, but they're charging randomly, and it's a bad hit to the market. So how to go about it further? Shall we ask customers to pay and against the protest, and they wait for the realization on that, or do we have a stand and keep our cargo?
I think this question is for George. I don't think Sandesh
Yeah,
will be able to answer this question.
Oh, sorry.
So George should take this, I think.
See, I think at this point in time, I think these circulars are pretty clear, and most of the stakeholders have consented and have agreed, especially when it comes to the charges by the carriers. Most of them have agreed to it. So I don't see any reason why there should be a problem in, or rather, you having a problem with getting the carriers to agree to what the circular specifies.
Sir, carriers are well good enough being a foreign entity in India. They are really helping to provide as many as waivers they can do. But you know, the CFS, the MLA, the airport authorities of India, they are like religiously charging everything what they can in face of demurrage, ground rent.
Yeah, the CFSAI has come out with a recent circular on the 18th and a little before that too, where they have extended further concessions. So maybe I think if you have a look at that, you should be able to get, they are very clear about what are the additional waivers that can be expected from them. I'm not very sure about what happens in the airline industry, but on the ocean side, the CFSAI has come out with very clear, guidelines post the DG circular number 11.
So I don't see any more hands, so that's about it. So I leave it to Zexus and George.
There is one question.
Yeah, there's one question from Vivek Kotai. Can a contract with lock-in period be terminated due to this pandemic if nothing is mentioned on the force majeure?
No. Meaning the clause is not there?
A force majeure, so I presume a force majeure clause is not a part of the contract. So his question is because of the pandemic.
Then it would go by doctrine of frustration, but where the party who is invoking doctrine of frustration will have to prove that they were unable to meet the contractual obligations if it goes into court of law. If there is no force majeure, then there is another doctrine which is available, which is doctrine of frustration. But in that case, that in doctrine of frustration, the party will have to prove that they were unable to. I mean, they have tried, but it was beyond their capacity to do this because of the circumstances which has happened. But this is hardly, it is hardly executed. It is very difficult to prove in certain things.
Thank you, Sandesh. Zexus, I leave the floor to you to wind up the meeting because there are no other questions.
Thank you, George. Thanks, Sandesh, for a very thought-provoking and interesting session. Gave us much food for thought. A few comments from my side before we wind up. Some of them are in the form of, some are in the form of rhetorical questions as well. Your basic, one of your are a lot of unity in our trade, where we all stick by the terms and conditions of our contract and not fall over each other and offering credit lines to our customers, because we will ultimately be killing not only ourselves, but our brethren in the trade as well. I also feel that innovation will be the key. How each organization innovates, considering its strengths and weaknesses, to remain relevant for the next year at least, because that's the only horizon we can keep at this stage. Also, the idea would be to remain lean and mean to the greatest extent possible. And as you rightly say, stop anything that is unnecessary. Another question which you had posed is to take, another point which you had posed is that should we take a loan? That's a matter of debate. Would we want to increase our liability unless would we want to conserve and just cut our coat to our size? I think that's a call we would have to take depending on where and how the money is going to be spent.
Absolutely.
We also talked about downward revision of wages, which is a very unpleasant task, but may come necessary in the greater interest of the organization. I would recommend, on a side note, that I have recently been reading snippets of Chanakya's Niti, which is a big management tool, where precisely this point is brought about, that the interest of the state comes over and above the interest of the people, because in the longer run, the people would only benefit if the state benefits. So I think that's much food for thought for us on that particular point. Freeze new recruitment unless absolutely necessary. Also here, there were some views that in the longer run, there will be some disgruntlement between our staffs, and they may try to, we must not take advantage of the situation and poach under these circumstances. Defer capex is also a very pertinent point which you have mentioned, unless for at least a year. Right size, not downsize or upsize, that's a very right word. And daily profits. That system is already prevalent in India for a long time, with the Marwari system of the Parta, where they analyze their cash profit on a daily basis. Perhaps we need to reinculcate those ancient business practices back again. Work from home is going to be the norm for the next 1 year. We will have to have a staggering staff so that they're not exposed to the outside environment to the greatest every day. It would have to be every alternate day or something like that. Work from home does not mean permanently sitting at home. This would also be necessary for the management to not expose themselves, because they are the fulcrum of the organization and they need to remain in good health to lead the organization in such challenging times. More software tools like the ones you mentioned about Google Documents, etc., for reporting systems when we do work from home is also a very valid point. And I think we'll all need to get our IT systems upgraded and also invest further in it if necessary to save costs in the longer run. 80-20 analysis is a very, very pertinent point here as well. Most of our customers, we will be surprised to know if we really do an analysis or a audit of our customer profile, we'll come out, it will show us some surprisingly pleasant surprises also, I might add. The biggest thing for the next 1 year, if we can do from our industry, would be the best option available. Whether we all stick to our guns and maintain that position is a big question mark, but I think it would help a great deal to stem over the liquidity crisis that our industry is facing today or will face in the next 1 year. And I perfectly agree and end with your nomenclature of just in case. We have to be prepared for every eventuality and plan accordingly for the next 1 year. Thank you very much for your time. I'd also like to thank our organizers of the AMTOI Northern Region chapter today for a great initiative. There have been some requests to send the PowerPoint presentation of which Sandesh has complied to all those who attended today, as well as the YouTube link for them to read, study it, and forward it within their organizations. So that's where I went, and thank you all very much.
Thank you. I'll share the presentation with the organizers. Thank you very much. It was
thank you so much
to be part of this.
Thank you.
One final word. I was told by my president not to say this, but for such interesting session, thank you very much, sir, for sparing your time and sharing such good thoughts with us. That will be really helpful. I will be soon putting this on YouTube. It was YouTube live, but I've also recorded it, so I'll put it on the YouTube, and it will be available for everybody to view later on. Thank you so much. I think we are closing right on time. So as AMTOI's principle goes, we started on time and we close on time. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Everyone, please stay safe and stay at home. Thank you.
Thank you. And